Welcome. Scott here. Here is a quick boss guide for the upcoming SHINRYU event, Dimensions and Transcendence Tier 14. Before I proceed further, here is a quick overview on how Transcendence works. For any Transcendence stages, your party will get boosted stats if you bring a burst unit for the fight. To access Dimensions and Transcendence, you need to clear up to Tier 5 of Dimensions and Entropy. There are 3 stages that you need to clear for the fight. There are 2 crucibles that you need to clear first before you can access the main gate. The main gate will require you to bring only the characters that you have used for the crucibles. You can't use any of the characters locked to the tier for other tiers unless you unlock them. Firstly, let's break down the requirements of the crucibles. All Lufania orbs are fatal and they are mechanics that you should watch out for this Transcendence fight. Do take note that Lufania auras for crucibles are the standard versions and they are not the restrictive ones that you face in the plus versions. For the left crucible or crucible 1, you will be fighting 2 Devil Hornet. The boss has 20 million HP each. The turn requirements are 50 and you need to bring a red crystal unit. Dealing Ice Brave damage will freeze the orb. For the right crucible or crucible 2, you will be fighting 2 Biosoul, which has 20 million HP each. The turn requirement is 60 and you need to bring a green crystal unit. The orb requires you to deal magic brave damage. Upon clearing both crucibles, you will be able to access the main reckoning stage or the middle gate. You will be fighting a new enemy type, 2 Dissolved Drake. The fight is a SHINRYU level fight. I will discuss more on the force mechanics when I am discussing about the fight itself. The Drakes have 170 million HP each. The turn requirement for the fight is 50 and the HP requirements is 15,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the stage was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Let's cover on the mechanics of the first crucible. You need to bring a red crystal unit for this stage. To freeze the orb conditions, you just need simply do ice elemental brave damage to the bosses. Examples of red crystal units that can reliably uptick the orb are Kurasame, 7, Onion Knight or Papa Limo. 4 ice units that you can consider using for this crucible is Kurasame, Kader, Papa Limo, Onion Knight and Celis. With the view of the SHINRYU event tickets, you will most probably bring Kurasame to this crucible. Although she is not an ice unit, Aerith is also a good option to use here if you have her. Firstly, let's cover the orb conditions. The orb will be activated when the boss HP drop to 79% at the starting count by 15. It will be deactivated once the boss HP drops to 49% and reactivate at the 29% HP threshold. The orb will downtick by 1 when your party act and 2 when the boss act. Now, I will briefly go through the fight mechanics. They will gain aura boosts at the 79% and 49% HP threshold. The boss has several basic attacks like Blast Wave, Dark Laser, and Devil Sting. The fight will start off with the boss targeting all readying to use Blast Wave, which is an AoE Brave plus HP attack. After the aura have been activated at 79% HP threshold, the boss will activate Wait whether they will become immune to delay, breaks and launch. They will also raise resistances to Brave and HP damage by 30%. While the stance is active, they will also raise their HP damage dealt by 10 times. To reduce the effects from the wait stance, you need to either let the boss uses its rush attack, which will most likely KO its target without any HP damage mitigation, or Brave control utility. The other alternative is deal Ice Brave damage to remove the effect. Upon meeting the condition, you see the prompt becomes a bit lighter appearing. Try to kill both bosses at the same time, if not the surviving one will enrage and raises all its key stats by 100%. You can solo this tier with Kurasame, 7 or Onion Knight if you have them fully geared, and a damage mitigation call like Gladio LDCA or Warrior of Light LDCA. If you have Kurasame without his FR, you can bring another FR unit to carry him for the tier. If you are a new player, I strongly recommend you to get Kurasame LD, as he offers one of the game's best HP damage up debuffs. The debuff will be very useful if you are deploying nuke or rush down strategies. Now, let's cover the second Crucible. For this Crucible, you need to bring a green crystal unit. You will be fighting 2 Biosoul. Let's talk about the orb first. The orb will appear at the start of the fight and appears with the count of 15. The Lufania countdown ability is fatal. The orb will downtick by 1 per party action and downtick by 2 whenever the boss act. You can uptick by doing magic brave damage. You can consider bringing the following green units for the fight: Raines, Celis, Cloud of Darkness, Ruby Conte, Renoa, or Tira. Upon activation of certain boss mechanics, you need to unleash launches to uptick the orb. For launchers that are green crystal unit, you can bring Raines, Sync, or Fujin. Or you can just stand by Raines LDCA to trigger the launches when you need to. Generally, most of the boss attacks are mainly single target, inflicting a variety debuffs. When it is targeting all, it will use Shake Off. After its second action, it will be activating Craving Energy, where it will become more aggressive. At the 79% and 49% HP threshold, other than the activation of the auras, the boss will also use Life Powder to battery its counterpart, followed by entering their union stance. Upon activation of the stance, the bosses will become immune to delay from breaks. You can only break the union stance upon launching the bosses, or let the boss take a turn to use its HP attack. The fight can be solo with any of the aforementioned green crystal magic FR units with a damage mitigation call like Warrior of Light LDCA or Gladio LDCA. If you have him, Ruby Conte can easily solo this Crucible without much difficulties. If you are a new player, the banner that features Raines kit is your best opportunity. In my opinion, is one of the most impactful and important LD that you need to have for your account. With the 2 Crucibles out of the way, let's focus on the main Reckoning stage. You will be restricted to use 6 of the units that you used for the earlier Crucible stages. Here is a quick overview of the fight. The boss has force gauge properties that raises its force gauge when your party or boss party acts. They also have 70% brave damage resistance against all types of brave damage except for ice or fire. As the force gauge build up, they will raise their brave and HP damage potencies. Throughout the course of the fight, the boss will soften its body and trigger its auras. The type of auras gained will depend on the level of debuffs that you inflicted on the bosses. To handle the aura mechanics, you need to inflict debuffs with stacking level, not those generic debuffs. Examples of debuffers with stacking debuff mechanics are Kurasame, 7, Kadaj, Sync, Jack. Although they are less favorable, you can consider Seymour, X-Death, Edward, Fran, Neon. To minimize the penalties, try to keep your stack debuff levels between 4 and 5. From the 49% HP thresholds onwards, the boss will gain auras that negate HP damage except for launches. Upon on activation, the boss will also inflict 1 stack of old debuff to your party. You can negate that with debuff negation call with Ragin LDCA or Reno LDCA. Alternatively, you can deploy debuff evasion units or debuff cleansers. Examples that you can consider using is Yuna, Mog, Aerith and Ignis. Throughout the fight, the boss could inflict a framed debuff called Old, which raises its effects when its level is raised. To deal the boss force weakness, you use a Ice Melee FR while the boss inflicted with a debuff of stacking effect at level 5. To meet the condition with minimal setup, it is either Kurasame or 7 FR. Likewise, you can inflict a 5 stack debuff on the boss first and use a Ice Enchant Melee FR. Other than Kurasame and 7, you can consider bringing Squall, Onion Knight, Core, Arthen, Jack Garland, or Machina. For party Ice Enchanters, you can bring Kurasame, Onion Knight, Lunafreya, or Celis. If you have the tools to handle the fight mechanics, this fight should not be a difficult one to tackle. As we need to bring Kurasame for the event tickets, you need to use him in some way or form for the fight. There are clears featuring a Celis solo or Kurasame and Raines duo. Of course, most players opted to solo with the recent FRBT unit Ruby Conte. Firstly, let's cover on the boss force gauge mechanics. As this is a Shinryu fight, the boss will also gain boost too as the force gauge build up. The charging speed will increase faster as the boss HP deplete. You can refer the table on bottom of the screen for more details. Throughout the fight, the boss will charge its force gauge faster by 2% when your party or boss party acts. It will also gain 70% brave damage resistance against all except for fire or ice brave damage. The boss party will gain boost to its brave and HP damage by 10%. When the boss gauge is at 30% and above, the brave and HP damage boost will be increased to 30%. When the boss gauge is at 60% and above, the brave and HP damage boost will be increased to 50%. When the boss gauge is at 90% and above, the brave and HP damage boost will be increased to 70%. Due to the aforementioned properties of its force gauge, it will be noticeably that the boss will uses its force ability a lot faster if you are not bringing any designated force charger. When the force gauge is maxed, it will unleash its force ability, Slime Rain, and activate its force time by 15. Depending on the level of stack debuff that you have inflicted on the boss, it will affected the variant of force ability. At the point when the boss uses the force ability, if boss has been inflicted with stack debuff level between 3 to 5, it will use Slime Rain++, which is a guaranteed hit attack that reduces your party HP by 50% of their current HP. If your debuff is 2 or less and more than level 5, it will use Slime Rain++, which is the same attack as Slime Rain++, except it will dispel your buffs before unleashing the attack. When the force time is activated, you will see a red hue emitting from its force gauge. The boss will gain enhancements where inflicting breaks will not delay the boss. The boss gains immunity to turn deletion and your characters are unable to gain brave. The boss CTB gauge will be framed. During the force time, the boss will only spam Slime Rain+, which is an AoE magic brave plus HP attack that ignores HP nullification effects and inflicts 50% defense down debuff for 5 turns. To cancel the force time, you need to deal force weakness. To meet the force weakness, you need to meet the following 2 criteria. You need to use an ice melee FR and the boss needs to be inflicted with level 5 stacking debuff. As mentioned earlier, Kurasame and 7 FR meet this condition. Or you can set up a level 5 stacking debuff first before use a non-elemental melee FR with ice enchant. Throughout the fight, as its HP is lowered, the boss will gain auras depending on the HP thresholds. At the 79% HP threshold, it will activate the body has softened stance. The auras gained will depend on the stacking level of debuffs that is inflicted on the boss. If the stacking level debuff is at level 2 or less, the boss will gain auras that raises its defense by 20%, 1 million HP regen and 100% brave damage reduction. If the stacking level debuff is at level 3, the boss will gain auras that raises its defense by 20% and 1 million HP regen. If the stacking level debuff is at level 4 or 5, the boss will gain auras that raises its defense by 20% and 1 million HP regen. If there is no stacking debuff or the debuff level is above 5, the boss will gain auras that raises its defense by 20%. 1 million HP regen, 100% brave reduction and 300% HP damage reduction. At the 49% HP threshold, the auras will be cancelled and you trigger the condition body stiffened. The boss will inflict 1 stack of old debuff for 5 turns. I will discuss more on the effects of the old debuffs in the following slide. The boss will gain aura that reduces HP damage by 100% except for launches. Do note that this aura will stay even until the next threshold. At the 29% HP threshold, the boss will reactivate body become even softer aura, which is same tier level auras like the one that is activated at the 79% HP threshold. Except when there is no stack debuff or the stack debuff is above 5, the HP damage reduction is 999%. In other words, if you have no stacking debuff, you cannot win this fight. To recap, the debuffers that offer 5 stacks are Kurasame, Kadaj, Sync, 7 and Jack. Except for Kadaj, all other characters can inflict 5 stacks in their LDCA. Be careful when you use LDCA or debuffers that go beyond 5 stacks like Neon or Fran, as if the debuff stacks go beyond 5 will have serious repercussions on the auras. Let's cover on the boss basic moveset. Like most bosses, the bosses here have a fixed damage rotation. The boss will start off with Slime Breath, which is a single target magic brave attack that inflicts 1 stack of old debuff for 5 turns. Next it will follow up with Slime Rain, which is an AoE magic brave attack. Lastly it will use High Press, which is a single target melee brave and grants its Daunt Plus debuff. Daunt Plus will grants aura for the boss party that raises their attack and max brave by 40% and speed up by 20. Now let's cover a bit on the old debuff. The old debuff is a stacking debuff that lowers the affected character's key stats: attack, defense, speed, initial brave, and max brave. The effect will get stronger as the higher the stack is. You can refer to the table on the screen for the full details. At the maximum stack level of 5, the debuff will lower the affected character stats by 100% except for speed, which will be lowered by 60%. The stacks will increase when either one of the following 2 conditions are met. 1. When the affected character takes a turn, or 2. When the boss reapplies the debuff with Slime Breath. To handle the debuff, you can either use debuff negation call like Ragin LDCA or Reno LDCA, cleanse it with debuff cleanser or debuff cleansing calls, or bring debuff evasion unit like Aerith, Ignis, Lena, or Afma. To close up on the guide, let's discuss a bit on the featured FR unit, Kurasame. Overall, Kurasame does not have any major changes to his kit from his previous upgrade. Before I cover on his burst aura, let us talk a bit about the force conditions for his FR. 1. Dealing ice ability will grants 20% HP damage bonus. Kurasame is a party ice enchanter. You can upkeep his party enchant if his warm gaze buff is active. Just pair him with non-elemental or ice elemental units. 2. The second condition will depend on the level of Hero stacks that is active on the boss. Each level of Hero debuff will give you 10% HP damage bonus. When it is active with level 5, you will get 50% HP damage bonus. However, it is noted that Hero debuff will reduce by 1 when the enemy attack. So once you get to level 5, it is best do boss no turn to take advantage of the HP damage bonus. Alternatively, you can make use of turn disable debuff like Confusion or Paralysis to prevent the boss from acting to prevent the debuff stacks from dropping. Kurasame BT Aura offers him one of the best utility auras in the game. When the BT Aura is active, it will raise both party brave damage cap and brave damage by 50%. It will also raises the party max brave cap by 30%. The max brave cap will be raised to 50% if the affected boss is afflicted with 5 stacks Hero debuff. Other than the damage auras, Kurasame BT Aura also prevent enemies from gaining brave. This will be very useful in certain battle situations. Generally, when fully invested, Kurasame offers decent utility that involve a potent damage up debuff in Hero, party-wide ice enchant, great damage and brave freeze aura from his BT. If you do not have his LD, it is a good opportunity to get his LD for one of the game best debuff based damage up calls. If you want to know about his kit, you can check out his infographic page at the Tonberry Troop website. With this, I have come to the end of the guide. Hopefully, this will help you. If you like the video, please give it a like. If you are looking forward future content like this, please subscribe to my channel. This will help a lot in the growth of the channel. Good luck and bye.